The CFO of Intellivision has a lot to say in the comments on Start Engine, though.
Too much to say.
Yeah.
Too much to say.
In a way, it's worse than the former CEO, because this person actually has some financial knowledge, but still has the same sort of like overly aggressive and defensive stance.
Well, and also the former CEO was at least somehow charming to a number of people. I know, right. I know. But this guy is not charming to anyone.
Oh, no.
No, Nick Richards is not a charming individual. He kills prairie dogs.
No, prairie dogs are not enamored with Nick Richards.
No, they're not.
Not just kills
and laughs at it.
Laughs at it and uploads videos that he then takes down when he realizes people got. We got the footage, Nick. By the way, people, we the videos, we have those videos.
Anyway, enough about his murder preferences.
Yes. Enough about genocide of cute little animals. Let's talk about some of his responses here. The thing about the responses from Nick is that he brings up haters a lot to potential investors. That haters.
Do you realize how crazy you have to sound to constantly bring up haters to professional investors?
How can you give a person...
Your ship is sinking and you're using the term haters?
Because that's what they glom onto. They can't realize that, hey, listen, at this point, we're just trying to pay off our own salaries and loans with interest. So we got to blame the haters for our failures, not the fact that this is an ill-conceived product that was run by people that I think I said Tommy Tuberville shouldn't be running a hot dog stand, let alone a video game company. And this is the sort of group you have when you have a bunch of yes men that see a bunch of they thought they could take advantage of the video game community the same way Mike Kennedy thought he could with the Chameleon. We can just take advantage of them and just bank on nostalgia. Unfortunately, they took advantage of a bunch of investors who didn't know better. If not, this would have never gotten to this point. This would have been gone a year ago. A year ago, this would have been gone.
If there was no investors at all.
If they never got the Republic funds, the millions of dollars, this would have been done a year ago. But this is what you do. You pay back, loans, and you string along this company. I mean, I've seen some people postulate that there hasn't been really much development on this console the past 2 years.
No, it's been smoke and mirrors for 2 years. Everyone that you talk to about this was even any remote inside knowledge of it. Everything we've gathered, there has not been really any forward progress on this since 2019.
The fact that
it's been showing off the scraps of what they have in new and clever ways to get more money to finish it.
Yeah, we'll do some deep dive videos. We'll go out to Turkey Point, as Ian says. Turkey Point. And we'll go out. We'll have some of our cultists help set up events for us in order to get more investors on board. And that's what we've seen over the past year.
Turkey Point.
That's what we've been seeing. And but now Nick is revealing some sort of change potentially in strategies.
Strategic changes.
Like potentially, I don't know, getting rid of shit that the console doesn't need, like LEDs, changing the design of the console to accommodate that. Here's the problem, Nick. It's way too late to think about a redesign of this console. We are way past that point.
Yeah, he's talking about how after the first run comes out in some of these comments that they're going to do a smaller footprint model with one controller and no LEDs. So here's the funny thing. Here's what I find funny about that. Well, just the fact that he's talking at all about releasing a slimline model when they're not even going to release
the Slim Amico.
Yeah, the Amico Slim,
which is an Android phone or a tablet.
But also the full-on admittance that it doesn't need something like the LEDs. One of those railing points from early on that the LEDs were going to change how games were played fundamentally.
And you can use it as a display. Remember, a display piece in your living room.
Yes. Mm-hmm. They were going to fundamentally change how some of these games were going to be played. Insisted that they were necessary and not just a tacky add-on, yet we have never seen any examples of how they would affect gameplay at all, other than a brief suggestion, I think, by someone else on Atari Age about how they could use for B-12 Bomber or something.
Sure. So Kevin asked a question 9 days ago. I finally got a response this morning.
Oh,
including about how you can get funding for new games. How are you going to compete with these other systems on a price point? What is the cost of goods and the cost reduction? These are smart questions. Or an answer for a week and a half. And there other people were asking questions about why did you have the board members do these loans at these ridiculous rates when you could have got a business loan for far less? And the answer is because our board members want that money. I mean, that's basically what it is.
That's what he said?
No, he didn't say that, but that's the answer.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I know that's the answer.
If you care about the health,
obviously that's the answer.
if you care about the health of a company, you get a business loan at a great rate. You don't do fucking 10% loans or loans at 2.5% per month in order to fund your business goals. Here's some of the responses. Nick said, with regard to your question about funding games, many large startups with significant cash requirements, we must continue to execute on our fundraising strategy to keep on plan. Funding the games is part of this. We are in discussions with a few large mobile development companies about strategic partnership/investment, which would give us...
Did he say mobile development companies? So he's already admitting that, I mean...
These are mobile games.
Yes. We're beyond...
We're beyond pretend or not. Which would give us access to new game IP, cross-licensing revenue, development cash, and a good technical/development partner. We also have the opportunity to apply for economic development funds in Germany, which could be as much as 1.2 million. Keep in mind, that's the reason they have most of their games, is because of German taxpayer money.
Yep.
We'll just keep fleecing
milking
the Germans.
Germany.
We'll just keep fleecing our friends over in Germany. Our strategy going forward is not exclusively first party. We will continue to develop games in-house with our development partners, but we'll also be licensing games that fit the intended experience for the Amico. At this point, we think we could have approximately 15 games in 2022. Yes, most of them German games, or games that already are on other systems like Rigid Force Redux. We know that. Or Finnegan Fox, which is an ugly splash of paint. Another 20 to 30 in 2023. Yeah.
Wow, that is like way lower than what they were saying. 50 games at launch and all that.
Well,
15 games total in 2022 is what they're saying now.
If they're lucky.
And that's 6 pack-ins.
Profit and loss. Profit looks to be achievable with an annual production of 150,000 to 200,000 units. That to me doesn't mean we're going to be in the profit of 150,000 sold. That to me means we got to do that year over year. Yes. To pay back all these other loans and to have, and plus they need money for production for these. That's why they're doing this. They can't just produce 150,000 units. They need the money to produce these units. Mm-hmm. This is where he brings up Sam Mikovich from Ars Technica for no reason. Our cost of goods info is confidential, as most companies, but I can say that it is more than $100 that Sam Mikovich from Ars Technica stated, and now how many have parroted. I mean, they're done. They're done at this point. Unless they get an angel investor to give them, we'll just say $10 to $20 million, which what Tom and Tallarico claimed they had years ago. They're not going to have the money to produce these. That's the bottom line. They're not.
Right.
I think if you can get to say, well, we'll get the 5,000 founders out. I don't know if they're even going to go through that charade.
2,600
or 2,600. I don't know if they're going to go through that charade at this point. They might, but like they're so far behind. Obviously, there's no cloud. There's no cloud set up. No servers that we know of.
Keep in mind that they need 5 million from this campaign
to go
secure 5 million from another campaign that will keep them going for not even a year. 7 to 9 months.
Yeah.
They need 25 to 35 million additional next year. I don't see any way out. There's no way out of this.
Sell as many physical products that you want. This is what Nick also says. Our early adopters will not necessarily be cross-shopping Amico against the other consoles. Really? Really? How are you so sure about that? They will typically be non-gamer families.
This is what they've been going the whole time with.
This is great because it really shows they're going for the low information consumer.
Yep.
They will typically be non-gamer families with little knowledge of the gaming industry. So you're banking on families that don't know any better, that they're getting something that's overpriced and basically underpowered versus the competitors. That's great, Nick. You really think still that Walmart's going to put that on the shelves next to a Switch or an Xbox or a PlayStation? You really think they're going to waste their time? Walmart and Target knows their audiences. They know what people are willing to pay for certain products.
You've admitted that they're just mobile games. Yeah. You've admitted that it's going to only sell to low information consumers. I mean, at least the mask's off in terms of this thing not like supposed to have any appeal. It's just supposed to sell.
You admitted that the LEDs are bullshit. Yep. You admitted that the controllers are an
albatross,
a quagmire of just overproduced madness.
Yep.
The controllers, all this stuff, but we were haters. We were haters, according to Tommy. It sounds like stuff that they're taking from us talking about this 2 years ago. That, hey, we should listen to some of these
Maybe we
ideas.
should have listened to these idiots.
You should have turned this around over 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago is when you should have shifted on this stuff. The secondary benefit is that there are some fun games for the parents to play as well. Because there's none on the Switch, obviously.
That's the other part that I liked. He's basically like, this is just for kids who don't know any better.
Yeah. The idea that Amico is dedicated to this type of family experience and others are not is the primary differentiator. Pulling that out of your butt. This will obviously resonate more in certain segments, such as, here we go, finally. Faith-based communities, as the video game industry in general has a poor reputation of promoting themes and behaviors that do not align well to these communities. It'd be great when your former CEO, this is definitely a faith-based quote.
Hey, let's face it, Rich. You know damn well, both me and you, if we had the opportunity to get a lap dance from The Little Mermaid, we'd be all over it. True or false?
Good point. I'm not going to deny that.
That's right, Rich. You can't deny having a lap dance from a 15-year-old cartoon character. That's great for faith-based communities. We agree with that. So this is nuts. The system you see today will more than likely always be priced at the lower end of the other systems. But they're not, though, because this audience would be like we always said, like $100 to $120, 20 games, and get it out the door. I think that's why I always said, like, that's your best path for success.
Yeah.
Now, obviously not with these awful controllers.
No.
We need someone go $120, 20 games, and you never make another fucking game after that.
Or you've got the SD card slot on there. You release packs of games if you want to.
Physical packs of games.
You can. You leave the window open, the door open for that, but you don't have to do anything after that. You can sell it just as the plug and play system. But you would be able to expand it via an SD card. And maybe it's not like these games take up any memory.
Then you don't bother with your NFT shit or your online leaderboards because no one gives a shit. Like people always say, how many people are going to have this anyway to have an online leaderboard in your city? They said, we're going to have city leaderboards and state. No one in your city is going to have an Amico besides you. Like, no one.
Printable certificates.
Like, yeah. That was your path to success, we always said. Like $120 cap, 20 games, or whatever, 15, 20 games, and that's it. Yeah. With that said, if we simply become an alternative to the Switch with no meaningful differentiation and just try to be a cheaper, inferior version, we will obviously fail. Well, you are a cheaper, inferior version of the Switch, but you're going to cost more money. So how does that work out? It's cheaper design, cheaper games, but you're going to end up costing more than the Switch.
And there's always going to be the comparison to the Switch because you're trying to make a family gaming device. You can't just come out here and say, well but that's not our market. That is your market because the other market doesn't exist.
No. I guess if you went after the faith-based communities and try to market to them directly, are there many of those out there in order to turn a profit? Like at this point,
I feel like that's also a real 1980s mindset, though. Like I'm not saying
wisdom tree mode.
I'm not saying that faith-based communities are always the smartest, but I also feel like they're probably beyond just buying whatever is maybe.
And there's parental controls and all these anyway.
Right.
That's the thing. They're out there anyway.
And they're a pain to crack because I hate it when people leave parental controls on systems when they used to trade them into Luna.
Sure. We are planning we're planning on launching a less expensive model that takes out some of the extra features, such as the large array of LEDs. You can tell that Nick
does not like the LEDs.
But you're on board with Tommy the whole time, Nick. You're on board, and so is Phil Adam, the current CEO. You always knew some of this was bullshit. You always knew these controllers were too complicated. But you had a man-child running the company and designing the console that you got on board with. And you're profiting anyway because you're getting your salary and you're getting your loans back, paid back so far with interest partially, and which he tried to deny in the comments. Say, oh, no, the loans aren't even paid back. And people are like, no,
it shows it.
It's in the SEC document. The loans have been paid back.
Did he have any response to that?
I don't.
Probably not.
No. Come on, Nick.
Probably not.
We're not prairie dogs. You can't take advantage of us.
Oh, boy.
You can't do that.
We are not prairie dogs. It's true. It's true. I am not a prairie dog.
No, we're not. Less expensive models. The controllers being the most complex components of this. It's always great when your controller is the most complex part of the system more than the console itself. Isn't that great? Isn't that great? Once we finalize our production assembly and testing optimization and have a good idea of the throughput we can achieve, once we finalize our production assembly and testing optimization, and there's people still thinking this is going to come out like Q1 or even Q2 this year. There's people still thinking that this is going to happen. They were holding out hope.
Yeah, I mean it's not coming out Q1 or Q2 this year.
So they can't even publish a final price for the controllers. According to Nick, we don't know what they're going to. We don't.
I know
idea.
that's insane.
We have no
to
idea.
Me. That's so
we have no idea.
crazy to me.
We have no idea a year and a half after our first launch date slipped, we have no idea what the controllers are going to cost. Like, not a fucking clue. Nary a clue. This is, I mean, you can't make this up.
No.
You can't. There's no one at this company qualified to run a gaming company at this point. Like, nobody. No adults in the room. No one with real prior. Someone asked, yeah, you got people from the software side, Interplay. What about hardware? Like, making hardware of video game consoles and shipping hardware, which is entirely different than software, which is what we always said on top of that.
Yeah.
You know, it's nuts. It's nuts.
All right. Well, that could have been its own segment.
It could have been. I didn't think I was going to get that heated, to be honest, but like,
You got hot and bothered.
because
sassy.
This has become the chameleon. Like, this is our worst nightmare that would happen with the chameleon. Mm-hmm. You get pre-orders to a console that may never come out, and you have investors taking for several $1 million, if not more, that they're never going to see a dime. You got people, they're gone. The money's gone. And these people running the company that mismanages are profiting off of it. That's the worst nightmare. And here it is. And they were enabled partly by YouTubers.
Oh, yeah. No one asking the pertinent questions.
No.